Democratic Alliance says over 12,000 South Africans have signed a petition to Parliament against the proposed 36% electricity tariff increase by Eskom. The party says if the power utilities granted the request by the energy regulator Nersa, many households will be priced out of the electricity market and forced to abandon the use of electricity altogether. DA spokesperson Willie Aucamp joins us now for more on that. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Many would say, Willie, it's strange that you are behaving like you're not in government. I mean, you have a deputy minister in the Department of Energy and Electricity. These are issues that could be raised at that level.
Yeah, good afternoon, or good evening, Tabu. It could be raised, and it is being raised at that level. The fact that we are in the government of national unity does not take away our responsibility to still look after the people. In actual fact, it makes that responsibility far greater. The DA has asked for the debate of national importance in Parliament on this matter, and we are busy with the petition on this matter, as you've just now said. And it's been a few days, and we've got more than 13,000 signatories to that petition. So this is a very important matter for every South African. It will touch the pockets of every South African, not only households, but also businesses. You can just imagine if there's an increase of 40% in electricity, there's a lot of people that will not be able to afford that. So if you are currently paying 1,000 rands per month for electricity, which is not a lot, you will in future pay 1,400 rand for that electricity, at least.
How do you strike that balance of electricity affordability as a challenge, which, of course, the Minister, Dr. Jose Ramokgopa, has also raised the question of energy poverty that's beginning to creep in, while still tackling the South African infrastructure deficit? Because the reason why there is high energy availability, yet we are seeing load reduction, is because just the infrastructure is unable to sustain.
Yeah, and that is one of the problems that Eskom has got. In the coming 10 years, they will have to do around about 14,500 kilometers of transmission networks, which will also delve into their money. From the DA side, we are firmly of the opinion that the electricity market needs to be opened up to the private sector to also form part of it. We believe that competition will be a good thing, firstly, to increase capabilities of companies, but also to decrease price. The fact that Eskom has got a monopoly on this made that in the past they did not really care. They knew that each year they'll take their increase applications to Nersa. They will always ask for a bit more, knowing that Nersa will maybe give them a little bit less, but they got exorbitant increases, double-figure increases for the past years, and the South African consumer had to pay that bill. We believe that from the DA side that if the market gets opened up for more competition, it will be to the benefit of each South African, because electricity prices will come lower, and it will mean a lot to something like, for instance, job creation. If businesses have got more regular power available at a lower price, they will be able to expand. Expansion brings job creation, which will in turn stimulate the whole of the economy.
So the minister characterizes this as a twin challenge of distribution, access and affordability, right? So how do we do that? Of course, everybody knows that South Africans are unable to cope. It's unaffordable, basically, at the rate at which electricity keeps going up. Yet you also have municipalities whose bottom line is being affected negatively.
Yes, correct. Municipalities currently owe Eskom more than 200 billion rands. The effect of the prices going up will be that you will have people that will simply not be able to pay for electricity. So what are they going to do? They're going to use less electricity. This will in turn means that Eskom will have less revenue to pay for the expenses, but it will also mean that municipalities that has got a huge income segment coming or deriving from electricity will now be in a position where they will also receive less. They've got a huge markup on that, and they pay for municipal services out of the profit that they make in electricity. If people are now going to be in a position where they cannot afford electricity, they will just pay less, and that will have a huge detrimental effect on the fiscus of local municipalities which are already in trouble.
The electricity tariff policy modeling needs to be enhanced. In what way can it be enhanced?
Well, we've asked the minister to look at the modeling and the pricing of electricity, and he said a couple of weeks ago that he will do that. There's a number of things that must be taken into consideration. Firstly, the total corruption endemic to Eskom must be stopped. I think if we can stop Eskom's corruption, paying hundreds of rands for one toilet roll, it will have an effect on their cost itself. The moment that you look at cost cutting from Eskom's side, it will have an effect on pricing. The other option is also to look at the cost of infrastructure projects, such as the transmission networks that I just spoke about. There must be transparency in the tenders that are approved by Eskom. There must be no corruption there, because we've seen in the past with Medupi and Kusile, how overspending on projects had a huge influence on the increase in pricing that Eskom had to charge the public. So there's a lot of things that can be done. From the DA side, we've asked that the minister relook at the whole pricing model of Eskom. Eskom also needs to look into making sure that municipalities pay their outstanding debt. For Eskom to have currently between 380 to 400 billion rands of debt, and municipalities owing them in the vicinity of 200 million rand, it's not how business work. If that was your or my business, Tabu, we would have been bankrupt. The state has already last year bailed out, and previous years bailed out Eskom in numerous ways. We've taken over a huge amount of Eskom's debt. So Eskom is in the position where they can now function, but it needs to be managed properly, and the pricing structure needs to be remodeled from the beginning, taking into consideration the effect that the private sector can and must play in not only the capacity of Eskom, but also the whole electricity provision network of South Africa.
Yeah, indeed. How are you handling that particular aspect at downstream as the Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape province where you govern? Because, of course, the performance of Eskom might be doing well, but everything is happening downstream where parts of municipalities, parts of Langa, parts of Nyanga, they have a crisis that they're confronting there of infrastructure that is not modernized, that is not being kept up with the, of course, demand and is not protected.
Well, firstly, Tabu, we have got a huge influx of people into the Western Cape, which is challenging. But if you go and look at the city of Cape Town, for example, the amount in the budget that the city of Cape Town spends in the previously disadvantaged communities to expand service delivery is far more than any other metro in the country. So it is challenging, and we are working towards it. If you look at the electricity models that we have in the Western Cape, the city of Cape Town has got the Steenbras Dam project. Whenever we have load shedding and the rest of the country is at stage 4, for example, the people in Cape Town is at stage 3 or stage 2. So we are always a stage lower in Cape Town, where infrastructure projects such as the Steenbras Dam has been developed over many years. We have also in the Western Cape said that we must put more energy and more money into renewable energy systems like solar, and we've rolled that out in various towns. We will be hopefully the first province in the country, and soon be followed by others, that will be able to pay back customers for electricity that they put into the grid. So we can alleviate Eskom's supply problems by getting the private sector and individuals involved. And that is what we've done in the Western Cape. The challenges in some of the areas is definitely there. And from the DA side, governing the Western Cape, we've shown over the past years when whilst we've governed, is that we really put a lot of infrastructure capital projects into those areas, and hopefully it will, and we believe it will, alleviate the electricity problems of those areas. Another big problem that we are experiencing all over the country is the illegal tapping of electricity. Municipalities need to look into that. We need to put a stop to that. because it's also having a huge negative effect, not only on the electricity network itself, but on the cash flow of municipalities, which in turn then has an effect on Eskom, because the municipalities can't pay Eskom, because there's a lot of electricity that gets stolen in the process, which the municipalities then don't get any income for.
Almost all mayors that I would speak to around this issue of expensive electricity or high tariffs of electricity, they say, well, we've got an indigent program. So those who can't afford, they can sign up to that, implying, of course, then that those who are not in the indigent program can afford to pay the tariffs.
Well, we need to get as many people that qualifies for being in the indigent program to be in the indigent program. Municipalities get funding for that. So it is an absolute right that we've got to provide people that does not have the means to pay for it with at least a basic amount of electricity every month. But municipalities need to make sure that their indigent people are registered so that they can get money for that. It is furthermore very important when you look at the amount of people that cannot afford electricity, that we must look at the total economic situation in South Africa. We need to create an environment that is conducive for capital investment, not only on the electricity part, but to the country as a whole, so that we can do job creation and that there are less people relying on indigent grants than we currently have. We've got to turn around the whole of the economic system of South Africa. Otherwise, we will have more people being reliant on grants, more people being reliant on indigent stipends or money relief that they get from municipalities. So we need to look at this thing holistically. Otherwise, we will not be able to solve it.
Willie Aucamp, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on, speaking on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, their member of Parliament as well. Right, what's making news tonight on In Focus when we continue next? Stay with us.